And who would know that Venezuela was going to get bombed, and we were going to do this and that, and then we get preempted, and then we didn't do it, and then we got a little bit of hate mail, like people thought like we didn't care, and we just didn't have any. We had no say-so over what was going to happen.
Yeah, we got preempted at 10 o'clock, and it was like for 30 minutes, and we planned on.
It was until 11:15.
Yeah, we planned on doing a tribute to Ed last week, and you know, Ed, like all you listeners out there, was kind of guy that every Saturday morning you tuned in to hear Ed, because he was just one of those guys that you trusted. The voice was trusted. Everything he said you knew was facts, and just our friend, Don's friend for almost his whole life, my friend for 36 years, and he will be sorely missed. And you know, behind the scenes, Ed was a mentor to both Don and I. And when we started this radio show,
he's been that to me since I was 23 years old.
Yep, that's right. I met Ed in 1990. I worked. You
were late to the game. That's only 36 years ago.
I was at Acura Southwest in Houston. I was a sales manager, and I would call Ed, who was at Goodson Acura, and him and I would deal a trade cars, meaning he had a car that I needed, and I had a car that he needed.
And most likely it wasn't the same customer, so it worked.
It wasn't the same customer, so it worked, and that's how we became friends. But one other story: when I came up here to talk with John Eagle about being a partner, hired me to run the John Eagle Honda store on Lemon Avenue.
1990s?
1999. Ed was kind enough, unsolicited, to write a letter to John Eagle and say, hey, I know John Ingram personally. I would highly recommend that you hire him. And so Ed didn't have to do that. I mean, but that was the kind of guy that he was. And he didn't want anything for it. You know, he just would say, hey, come up here and go to work for John Eagle. The Eagle's a great family operated, family owned business. And so that was one of the things Ed did for me. I didn't even know till like a couple of years later when John told me and actually gave me a copy of the letter. He said, yeah, Ed wrote this letter for you. So just one of those guys, you know, that just probably the most trusted person that I in my life that I know. All the dealers that are listening and that are on the show, if there was a problem, you know who they would call? They would call Ed Wallace, because they knew that Ed, if he didn't know, he would find out immediately and get back to you with really, really good, strong advice. You mentioned it earlier, Don, about if he went to a convention with a bunch of heart surgeons and Ed didn't know anything about it, by the end of the convention, they'd be voting him president of the association. Right?
Yeah, I told this story once a long, long time ago. When I was at the Chevrolet store, I got a phone call, and they wanted to know if I would come to Las Colinas and be part of a focus group.
I remember, yeah.
At the time, Carl Westway Ford,
yep,
was getting in the giant, what do they call those giant antennas?
Oh, I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Anyway, it was going to be the Westway network or whatever it was.
Right.
But they had those like 12-foot, they look like
satellite dishes.
Satellites.
Yeah.
So they were a satellite dish. So it was going to be that every dealership in America was going to have a satellite dish, and the automotive network would be,
yep,
and that was where your salespeople would get trained. You'd learn how to do this. I mean, a really great idea. It never ever worked, but it was a great idea.
Right.
So these guys that hired us, that they were from New York, and they were going to try to cut in on Carl Westcott's deal. So I called Ed. I said, "Hey man, these guys are going to pay $500. They're going to buy us breakfast at the Four Seasons, which was brand new then.
Yep.
And here's all we got to do." So I called 4 or 5 friends. There was 10 of us at the table, and the big suits came in from New York. And within an hour, they had decided that Ed Wallace should run the entire network.
That's right.
I mean, he was just that powerful. I mean, he was that strong.
Well, no, and he knew what he was talking about. That's the important part. And what did he tell us, Don? Always check the story. Make sure it's true, first of all. Don't put anything on the air that's not true, meaning a story that we read during the week. Make sure and check out that it's factual and true. You make sure you do that for the listener. And that's how you and I were mentored. And sometimes it was tough. Like Ed was, he could be a taskmaster, but it was one of those things like a great coach, right? Vince Lombardi, taskmaster. But when you look back on it, it was because he loved you and cared for you. That's what it was all about. And
if you've got an Ed Wallace story, we don't listen to us talk for hours. 888-787-5543, 888-787-5543. Your best Ed Wallace story, something you remember he said. Somebody called last week about the story about the Donner Pass and the people, the family having to eat each other because they can't get across. It's cold. So if you've got a great Ed Wallace story, call us and tell us. 888-787-5543. Right now on line one, Steve, you're on with Don and John. Hello.
Morning, guys.
Morning.
Great job. You're doing a great job.
Thank you, sir.
I started listening to Ed decades ago. I don't know. I'd worked on Saturdays. Anyway, here's my big thing is Ed was a big gasoline additive that was like MTBE.
MTBE.
No. Yes.
Yeah, MTBE.
It was poisoning our water supply.
Yep.
And you know, he was a big proponent and put the information out there and just, you know, there was other research, but I think he kicked that ball along till they finally realized that was a bad thing, you know.
Well, if you'll remember, he broke the story at that same time that San Diego had to shut down their water supply because it had gotten in the water supply.
Yeah.
And that was kind of that was the big break that started that becoming really a national story. So yeah, he may not get all the credit for it, but he was out there in front with some others, maybe.
No question.
The crazy part about it is you know, it got in the water supply. You couldn't get rid of it, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
What's the filter thing? And then the RXP, man, he was a big RXP, and I used that, loved it. It was great.
Hey, and you know what, Steve? I talked to Jimmy Potts yesterday, who you'll remember was the RXP guy.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
And in fact, he goes, you know, I was on that show for 25 years, which may make him one of the longest running
for sure
at the time. And he said that changed my life. And he said the only place we really sold RXP in giant numbers was North Texas because of Ed Wallace.
Yep.
There would be supply stores when you'd go in and say, hey, you got this RXP stuff? And they're like, huh? And then next thing you know, they'd have it, you know, and then other places. Yeah, it was great stuff.
I can still go into O'Reilly's, and they still sell RXP. They have it like behind the counter in the small little box with the orange little container,
like baby formula because it's stolen.
Yeah, but it still works, and it's still as good as it ever was.
Well, you know, the worst thing they ever did to gasoline was add corn alcohol to it. So there you go.
There you go.
What you gonna do though, Steve?
You're gonna adapt to it.
All right.
You guys have a great day, and thank you. He trained y'all up good, and you're good. You're doing great, and you're going to continue. So
you know, and somewhere he's sitting going, not that good, Steve. I didn't teach him that good. They're still gotta go, my friend. See you. Bye.
Thank you, Steve.
888-787-5543. 888-787-5543. Hey, Richard, don't go anywhere. Randy, don't go anywhere. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back next on 570 KLIF. And we're back here on 570 KLIF. And you know what? With the way that wind's blowing outside, you could be riding on the wind.
You're not kidding.
Me, Don, him, John.
Yep.
Makes us cruise control with Don and John. And we're doing our Ed Wallace 2-hour tribute phone calls. Call in, tell the great story. Steve just had some great stuff. It just reminds me of, I did it so many Saturdays between answering the phone, doing the opening, being on the show, and all that kind of stuff that you kind of forget all the things that he broke and the big stories that he broke. Like he just talked about that one about MTBE.
A big
metal
one.
Tertiary butyl ether. Now, how many people can say that? But
not many.
I heard him say it so many times sitting across the glass on the other side that I'm going, I have dreams about it, I guess, now. Anyway, on line 2, Richard in Plano. Hello.
Good morning.
Hey, Richard. How are you?
I'm doing well, gentlemen. First of all, my condolences to the Wallace family. I met Ed Wallace in 2004 at the grand opening of Renee Issup's Toyota dealership in Louisville. And I was in the automotive business, in the detailing business, and I had just detailed all of the cars in the showroom. And Ed Wallace was standing over there, long-haired gentleman.
Yep.
Kind of a hippie-looking guy. And I kind of stood next to him, and I said, are you involved in the dealership? He said, well, no, not really. He said, I'm Ed Wallace. I said, I've heard about you. So over the years, Ed and I have met many times at all of the dealership openings. A lot over at Classic Chevrolet when they introduced the Camaro. He was there, and we struck up an old conversation. So I was really surprised to hear about Ed leaving us, and he surely will be missed, I'll tell you.
No, he surely will, and it was a surprise to all of us, but he will definitely be missed. He was I was 20 years on the show, knew Ed for 36 years, and I listened every Saturday. Now, I didn't listen for the full 4 hours, but I listened as a dealer. I listened every week because it was so informative. I always learned something that I didn't know, or just the backside of American history or classic tracks or any of those things. So it was one of those things. He was just a unique individual. He was a savant, but I never knew anyone like Ed ever. I mean, I've met a lot of people and know a lot of people, but I have never met another person quite like Ed Wallace.
Well, I don't know if you remember me, but I met you at one of your dealerships. I was involved in detailing automobiles at the time, and I detailed a couple of your cars for you.
Yep, I do remember. Absolutely.
So you guys keep up the great work, and I listen to you every Saturday.
Well, we appreciate you calling, and thanks for calling in and telling us about your story with Ed. And Ed was, for the dealers, he was number one. Whenever there was an issue that had to be resolved, number one person to call was Ed Wallace, because he would always give you the advice. And if he didn't know, he would find out overnight. By the next day, you would have an answer to whatever the problem was.
Absolutely. All right, gentlemen, take care and have a good time.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
888-787-5543. We're doing our Ed Wallace tribute. You guys calling in, tell us what your favorite stories was, or maybe something he told or you learned even from him. I know that I learned so much from him. You can't even go back from the time I was 23 until, well, I talked to him Sunday afternoon of the day, right?
Right.
But he's always coaching, he's teaching, that's just what he did and who he was. I mean, sometimes you didn't want to hear it, but that's who he was and what he did.
The one thing he was consistent. Right, Don? Mm-hmm. And Tim knows Ed for 30 plus years. And one thing Ed was consistent. And if he told you something, it was factual. There was no, you didn't have to go check it. You didn't have to do anything. It was.
You may not like it, but it was.
You may not like it.
It was what it was.
It was the truth. And there's no question about that.
Randy on line 3, you're on with Don and John. Hello.
Good morning, boys. How y'all doing?
Randy, how are you, sir?
I'm good, thanks. Like everybody, I was absolutely gutted to hear about Ed's passing. I immediately went back and started looking at emails that we had over our 25 years, and there was over 300 emails. And the story I wanted to share with you was how committed he was to the process. In 2008, I bought a Shelby GT 500 from a dealer in Fort Worth that's no longer on the show because I think they sold. This was before we started dealing with Charlie. And it was a convertible, so it had a stripe delete on it. And instead of, I stupidly decided to have the stripe painted instead of the applique, the vinyl applique.
Yes.
And it came back really bad, right? So I was really frustrated. And I emailed Ed and said, boy, this thing just turned out horribly. The next morning, not even 24 hours later, there was a flatbed in front of my truck with the general sales manager of that dealer. I think it was Texas Motors Ford, if I remember correctly. The general sales manager was out front with a flatbed and a roll of tape, and he literally taped every imperfection in that stripe, took the car away, and a week later it showed up perfect. And I thought, man, that's amazing how committed he was to his listeners and the stuff that he did. It was just incredible. But the best part about him was I met so many great people like David Alatrage and Charlie Gilchrist. And I'm not supposed to mention some guy named John Ingram.
Yeah, there you go.
But, I mean, John, you did the same thing for my daughter when she totaled her vehicle out in El Paso when they were stationed at the base out there. You shipped a pilot out there for me. I was traveling and couldn't get to it, and you handled everything so beautifully. I mean, I'll always be appreciative of these dealer partners and how they go the extra mile. It was the real deal.
And it was a team effort. Everybody knew that everybody knew Ed. We'd been on the show a long time. We knew how important it was to all of us to take care of our customers. But it was just, that's what you do. You go the extra mile, because the reason is the stories you're telling today, Randy, those are stories that are priceless, that you just do the right thing at the right time and take care of people when they need you the most.
Yeah, and it wasn't, and this, John, there was you would go in and say, Ed Wallace sent me here, and it wasn't like some magic carpet, right? But you just immediately were dealing with the best, brightest people at the dealership, and I always appreciated that. I mean, I always appreciated that process and how great it was, and you know how many, I'm crazy, you know how many cars I've
I do.
So.
I loved your Ram truck you traded in. I'm like, is this brand new? You sure you want to trade this in? It looks like it just came off the showroom floor.
Yeah, I bought a lot of trucks since then. I'll tell you the one last thing he did. He could put the needle to you, and Don, you know this.
Yes, sir. I have all the scars.
I've had several Raptors, and he would send when the Ram TRX came out. He sent me an email and said, "I can't believe you drive a Raptor when you can get a TRX. What is wrong with you?" I mean, he would put the needle to you, and I'm like, God, I got to go buy a TRX now.
I don't know how many people would come and brag about, hey, I've got a 2-year-old this, and he'd go, you're destroying the American financial system. You need to go get a new. I don't know how many times, or a guy'd call up and go, hey, I got a Lexus RX 350. He'd go, oh, you got a chick car, do you?
That's right.
Yeah, I've got a chick car, do you?
He will be missed. He will be missed. But you guys are doing a great job, and I appreciate the show, and I listen every week.
Thank you, Randy.
I'd like to welcome you back, regardless of what kind of heart you own, here on 570 KLIF. We're doing what we promised we were going to do last week, but got preempted on. We're doing a 2-hour kind of like tribute to our friend Ed Wallace, who passed away the 28th of December in the afternoon, early evening. And what we're doing is inviting you to call us with your best or favorite Ed Wallace story, or something he did to help you, or something you learned from him, because we all did that. I know that for my entire life, every Saturday morning I would come here, it was like a training session. If I needed to find something out while we were getting the show ready, I'd ask those questions then and get my answers. And like you said, whether I liked them or not, they were going to be accurate.
It was going to be accurate. Now I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So Ed worked at Goodson Acura.
Uh-huh.
And he was in the leasing department, fleet and leasing.
He may have been a fleet guy there too. I don't know exactly.
So he was in the fleet and leasing department. Why did he start the radio show in the first place? How did he even become interested in having a radio show when he was already doing something else?
Well, the way I remember the story is there was a 60-minute segment on what thieves car dealers were.
Ah, see? Yeah.
And he thought it was so unfair that somebody should answer for that. And then if you don't think there is a divine being, that next day or so, two guys came selling radio advertising to him at Goodson.
Wow.
They had a little radio station called KGBS in downtown Dallas. And they were trying to sell him advertisements, and he was ranting and raving the whole time. And they said, you know what? You need to have a show. You need to do this. And so that's really how it came to be. But the whole concept when he first started talking about this is we have to do a show that the dealers will respect and that help the listeners too. Because people had said, well, you have to do a show for the dealers or you have to do a show for the listeners. You can't do something that makes both of them happy.
He was told the opposite, right?
Right. But he proved everybody wrong and started when I was a kid, when we were young, you remember Click and Clack on
Yeah,
NPR?
sure. Yeah.
Well, that was the car show.
That was the car show.
And it was fake.
It was fake, yeah.
because they took the calls. Then they
already had pre-programmed answers and
they
questions.
re-recorded it, right, and then put it on the air like it was happening live, and it wasn't. But so he took this, and I'll never forget when we first started. He did like the first couple, 2 or 3 shows by himself before I said, "Well, I'll come down and help." But I mean, I knew, and he and I had done a lot of stuff. We'd written TV scripts, movie scripts. We'd been to Hollywood to be rock stars. We'd done all this stuff, and I could always tell he needed my help doing that stuff. But from the first time I started watching him do this radio bit, I go, he don't really need me. And if I talk on top of him, it really just causes him to lose his concept. So that's when I said, well, I'll answer the phone or something. I mean,
well, the funny thing is, Ed told a story that when we started out doing this together, that he had, for the first show, he had 15 stories.
Had more than that.
And how long did it take him to go through all those?
Did them in like the first 30 minutes or something on a 2-hour show.
On a 2-hour show.
Had to redo them. What you should never think. You know, you get
rolling. You and I did it. You get rolling, and you know, all of a sudden you went through all the stories, and you got to cover an hour and a half. But that was a really good story, and that's part of getting into the radio business.
Bill and Denton, you're on with Don and John. Hello.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you all?
We're great.
I'm 82, and I was a child of the late 50s and 60s automobiles, where you could work on it yourself. You can't today. But I used to listen to Ed in the garage on Saturday morning. Classic Tracks was one of my favorites.
Yep.
And the backside of American history. Now, a lot of stuff I didn't agree with Ed on, but he presented it in a way that it was extremely interesting.
He was a master. So this week, one of the listeners sent us 2 editions of the Backside of American History, Volume 1 and Volume 2. Thank you so much for that. It's great. And I started reading the beginning of it, and not only was he a great radio guy and a very smart guy, but he was a great writer. I mean, he wrote articles for the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, Business Week, Bloomberg, but he was a masterful writer. And how he could take and read a book like he did. Ed said he could read a 500-page book in 6 hours and retain 94% of it. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh my gosh, he was a great storyteller.
He was the best. The best. He was, in my mind. Don and I wish we could emulate half of it or a quarter of it, but he was a really masterful storyteller and could mesmerize you just with his voice and his tone, the music he put with it, everything. So,
well, 20 years ago, I was listening to him, and he talked me into going down to a Volkswagen dealer and buying my wife a Beetle. And she had it for 10 years, and we traded it off. And the car she's got now, she's had for 10 years. So we don't trade very often.
You got the single decade trade cycle.
Yeah, exactly. Well, she does. I got the 2 decade. I got an 06 Dodge Ram pickup that they're going to bury me in.
You and John both got one.
That's right.
What's yours? 8?
Yep, 8.
Well, mine's a 6 with Cummins in it.
Yep.
And it's got 240,000 miles on it.
It's just a baby.
Yeah, it's just getting broke in. And my 17-year-old granddaughter's got eyes on it when I'm not here anymore.
That's incredible. Bill, we got to move on down the road, man. Thank you so much for being part of this for all these years.
You have a blessed day, both of you.
You too.
Thank you so much.
Bill Leven opens a line at 888-787-5543, 888-787-5543. I've only done that for 2 years now. Right. I can't do it all of a sudden. Or you can email us. I'll let you tell them.
Yes, you can go to myautomotivesource.com. Once you get there, go to the bottom of that first page, and you'll see the Contact Us button. You can email Don or me there, and we'll be happy to answer your email. By the way, we have an emailer, Joe. He sent us in an email and said Ed's coverage of 9/11 was spectacular.
In fact, that kind of kicked him off. I'll never forget when that happened. He called me because we both had daytime jobs, serious ones. He called and said, I'm going to be doing the afternoon 3 to 5, 3 to 6, whatever the time spot was, directly after the towers went down. He said, do you think you can come do the phones and stuff? And so I went to Mr. Hufflines. He said, you darn right, go.
Yep. The caller said Ed jumped in with both feet.
Yep.
Yep.
And he didn't tell everybody exactly what they wanted to hear either.
He didn't tell anybody what they wanted to hear, but eventually he was the truth sayer, right?
Yep. 888-787-5543. You're going to give the email out.
Yes, you can go to myautomotivesource.com. Once you get there, you can click on, if you're looking for a dealer, you can click on the dealer button, certified dealer button, and that'll take you to any of our dealers on the show. Or you can go to the bottom of that same page, and you'll see a place where you can contact us. Click on that, and you can send us an email.
And if you'll do that right now, you'll go to click on our dealer friends. You can click on the button that says Platinum Ford. And our friend Adam Vinci was here this morning as our guest on the Dealer Roundtable. And he's got several retired demonstrator Bronco Sports. They'll have anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 miles. That doesn't even matter. But he's got a deal where they're $319 a month, 39 months. You get 12,000 miles a year. And all you got to bring is the $319, the first payment, and TT&L down. And if Bronco Sport's not in your wheelhouse, if you'll get hold of him through the website, he's got 5 under 500 F-150s, Excursion, Explorer, Maverick, and Ranger pickup trucks. So
go see Adam out in Terrell, Texas, one of the fastest growing counties in Texas. We're going to have to take a break, Don.
888-787-5543. We got 2 lines open only, 888-787-5543, and we'll talk to you when we get back next on 570 KLIF. And we're back here on 570 KLIF, Cruise Control with Don and John. Once upon a time, it was called Wheels with Ed Wallace, and today we're doing a little tribute to our friend who passed away Sunday the 28th of December. And we're doing that by having you guys call in and tell us your favorite Ed Wallace stories while we kind of reminisce and do that the same way here. 888-787-5543, 888-787-5543, or...
Yes, you can go to myautomotivesource.com. Once you get there, if you want to talk to any of our dealer friends on the show, you'll see the certified dealer button. If you want to contact Don or me, then what you do is go to the bottom of that same page and click on the Contact Us button, and that'll send us an email. So, yes, Don.
Line 3. Tony, you're on with Don and John. Hello.
Good morning. Thank you for taking my call. I really had not heard that Ed had passed, so I'm glad I'm hearing the show this morning.
Yep.
Ed Wallace and I first crossed paths when he was working at Henry Butts.
Whoa,
I remember the name on the name tag was not Ed, but that was another matter.
Right.
But one day I had a particularly tough day on a Friday, and my best memory, he made me laugh my butt off driving down the road when he's telling the story about when he was younger, and I guess he was in Mexico because of his father's work, and he said something about Maria having the belief that stop signs were optional offerings.
Yeah.
He said, all I did was hold on to my behind and just ride.
He was in Mexico.
That made me laugh the rest of the day.
Yeah, he was funny. He was in Mexico as part of an exchange student program, and he's living with the Mexican family down there. And
in Insurgentes? Insurgentes?
I don't remember that much of it, but that may have been a street in Los Angeles.
No,
but that's what he was doing down there, and he loved Mexico City, but he was just down there as an exchange student. He always told me, he said, if we get this rock thing big enough, Aztec Stadium at the time held 250,000 people. It was the biggest stadium like in the world.
Yeah.
He goes, Don, one show, $10 a person. Goodbye.
Yeah.
One show.
Well, that's when he was there. He saw them carrying Pele down the street.
That's correct.
Yeah. Remember?
During the thing. That's right.
Yeah. And he remembered that. That's when he was living with the family in Mexico. Yeah. Ed, he had a great sense of humor and a very sharp wit. And,
Yes, he did.
He really.
Thank you so much for doing this today.
All right, my man.
We appreciate you calling in. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Tony saying goodbye means there's one line open for you, 888-787-5543. Why am I getting brain dead about the phone number all of a sudden? 888-787-5543, or you can email John.
Yes, you can go to myautomotivesource.com and send us an email. We'll try to answer it on air. If not, we'll answer it during the week. But we're starting to get some emails, Don, so...
Okay, so...
A lot of them we're going to talk about in the next minute. In the next section.
Why are you telling them now then?
Well, because I want them to stay tuned, because we're going to talk about...
Where are they going to go?
Backside of American history, classic tracks, and that's it.
Hey, Bruce.
Yes?
Oh,
Yes,
Bruce.
sir.
Bruce, tell John he's jumping the gun. Come on. Hello, friend.
How are you guys? It's great to hear you.
Thank you.
And you remember, Ed had a very famous line when everybody would call in and he'd say, "How are you, Ed?" And you remember what he would always say?
I'm
"Better
contractually...
than I deserve."
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm contractually obligated.
You are contractually obligated. Oh, yeah. I'm contractually
I'm contractually obligated. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he was great. Well, listen, I'm a historian. I listened to Ed for 30 years and I miss it.
And he would have said, "Then you need to get a life."
That's right.
I know. Saturday morning, I mean, I would show up as best I could. I know he wrote about 900 of those backsides. I got a copy of the first volume. I think I've heard about 80 or 90, at least 90% of them, and they're gems. And so, two things. One, I so miss everybody's favorite is the Christmas one, the Santa Claus bank robbery.
Yep, Santa Claus Bandits.
I was waiting.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know I couldn't hear all of the show. I didn't know if you played it or if there's going to be any opportunity in the future that you might be able to. I would love it if you could play more, but at least that. Is there any way that anything can be done about that? And what is going to happen to the backside? Can that be published or anything, or we just don't know?
Okay, so here's what we know for sure. We know for sure that we don't know anything for sure.
That's right.
On our list, we loved the backside of American history.
Loved it.
Loved it.
Yep.
Yes.
It was 20 minutes long on average.
Yep.
We loved it.
Yeah.
I'm even more loving of classic tracks.
Sure.
Because
I love
the music part, right? So we don't know how all that works out and all that kind of stuff. And obviously there's no one to ask. But John was just telling me, he goes, the email is just getting worn out with, when can we do it? Can we get a backside? Can we do, Can we do this? Can we do that? I would suggest among all you friends and people that have been listening forever and ever and ever, because there's people who have the printed version, the 2 PDFs.
I have those if you want them.
You have those. So I would suggest that we share that among each other for now. The one of the bigger problems I used to talk to him about, hey, we maybe we could go sell these classic tracks, or we can do this, that. He goes, no, you can't, because they've got music in there, and then we'd have to try to go pay the people that wrote the songs, and he says it's just too difficult. Anyway, we were talking with Dan Bennett even this morning. Nobody knows anything yet, but as quick as we could, I would love. I'll tell you something else that if you've been listening a long time, when he and I first started, we used to do these silly commercials. Fake silly commercials. We did Kia for Christmas.
Yeah.
We did the Topological Explorer, where the guy went all across the South America doing this and that, always to find, hey, it's Ed Wallace. We did a commercial way ahead of his time called Insurance by the Day. No point in paying for it all year. We only need it once or twice a year. Insurance by the Day. We did the ones about condos and condos.
I remember that one.
Yeah, well, we did all these ones, and at one point he decided we're being too silly. I need to take myself seriously. I need to be serious. And I'm going, wait a minute, it's gone but that's what we did all day, every Sundays. We'd go over to Jeff Ward's, which is not what his real name was. We'd go to Jeff Ward's studio, and all day Sunday we would write and make these fake commercials. And I said, please, John and I, let's play those just as a joke. Nope, that deals down the thing. So we'll see going forward. I don't know. There's so much fun stuff we can do. We can't do secondhand news because at this point it's fourth-hand news and nobody cares. But the music and the backside. I used to sit when I didn't stay the whole time, and I'm listening to either the backside or I'm listening to classic tracks, trying to beat him to the punchlines to who he was talking about.
Sure. But I think, Don, possibly in the future, there could be a possibility where we could play a backside, maybe. Who knows? I mean,
well, you don't. I mean,
we don't know right now, but we would love.
You can only play one. It's the shortest one that he ever did, and that's the great, the Christmas one.
The Christmas one.
Bank robbery with Santa Claus. And, it's just incredible.
Yeah.
I laugh every time I hear it.
Bruce, we're up against the break, man. We love you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
888-787-5543, 888-787-5543. There's 2 lines open. When we come, email them. Tell them to email you since you're doing such a good job.
You can go to myautomotivesource.com. Once you get there, if you want to talk to any of our dealer friends on the show, you'll see the certified button. Click on that. That's all of our certified dealers. And if you want to email Dawn or me, you can go to the bottom of that same page and you'll see the contact us button. Click on that and you can send us an email.
And you're hot and ready to go on the laptop right now.
Well, they're rolling in, baby. I can tell you that.
888-787-5543, 888-787-5543. When we come back, we're going to talk to Tom and Dave next on 570 KLIF. And if your parents let you have a double-stack gold letter 100-watt super lead Marshall in your garage, instead of them parking their cars there, you could play that song too and sound just like that. Me, Don Grantham.
And John Ingram.
And we are back here on 570 KLIF doing our Ed Wallace Tribute, whereby you guys are calling in to help us recall all of our most favorite Ed Wallace memories. 888-787-5543 is the number. There's one line open right now. Imagine that. 888-787-5543.
Don, you see how many listeners have listened for 20 plus, almost 30 years in some cases, have listened to the show? Yeah. That's loyal listeners, right?
Well, that's why who he was.
And we're very fortunate to have been able to follow in Ed's footsteps and to be able to do this show. We didn't want it to go away, even though we knew it would be tough. Well,
here's the thing. It's like you and me and Dan Bennett talked about this. You can't replace him.
No.
You can't do. I've known him this time since 1978. But remember, I met him when I was 13 or so. We just didn't know that until we were both 10 years later.
Right.
But in all those years, there's not another person like him. I've been to Hollywood. I've done everything he and I've gone together and done.
Yeah.
And there's not anybody like him. It's the combination of good person, 96% retention, everything he sees, reads, and hears, can read something in 30 seconds, and then he never forgets it. He can be told something, he never forgets it, and remembers the shirt you were wearing the day you told him that, and where you were, and the time. It's just impossible. He's a one of a kind.
And if you look at the amount of money that he raised for the KLIF kids over the years,
there's no telling how much that money it was.
But it was in the millions.
Well, I don't even know it. I was involved in every one of those, but I was not. They never asked me to hold. They never asked me to hold the money. How come that was?
I don't know, but he would come in. I would give Ed every single year for the KLIF kids $2,500 over. That's over 20 years. And
well, I know that show, the Christmas show, was always done at a Quick Car. Yep. And that was always my favorite one that's my favorite show. You went, everybody's happy. It was always too cramped, whatever, to do those things. And he hated doing them, but he would do it because people would come from all over the metroplex.
Sure.
Everywhere, bringing brand new bicycles, we had a guy out of, I won't use his name, a guy, he does window tinting out of Louisville, Flower Mound, folks. You can find out who he is, who one year brought us his entire collection of Hot Wheels cars. I'm talking, I don't know how many there were. There's a lot.
Yeah.
But he goes, hope this helped these kids and stuff out.
Yeah. The part that most people don't know is the generous side of Ed Wallace. He was one of those guys. He'd give you the shirt off his back. And, we talked about it earlier today. I was talking to him one time in my office, and he's like, and I was talking to him about, I said, hey, I have this old record player. And he said, what kind do you have? I said, oh, it's just an old one, nothing special. He goes, well, I got one I'm getting rid of. I'll bring it next time and just give it to you. And he would do that with Tim, and he would do that with you, Don, too. And that was the generous side of Ed Wallace. And when he was done with something, didn't matter what it cost. He was done with it. He was done. Yeah, exactly.
If you don't want it, it's going to be on the curb.
That's right.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm still using those monsters speakers on either side of my computer. Tim's nodding. He said, yeah, we need to 888-787-5543. You talk too much.
No, you talk too much, Don.
787-5543, line 1. Tom, we kind of blew you off or something. We are so sorry. Welcome.
Oh, that's all right. Thank y'all for what y'all are doing. I mean, literally, he was a hero of mine.
Yep.
Yeah.
He certainly did not make me smarter, but the knowledge that I gleaned from him made me sound smarter.
There you go.
If that makes any, because he's not going to make me any smarter. It goes way back. I found out about Ed through Kevin McCarthy. Kevin had for years raised the most money for the Christmas. And then Ed Wallace.
Tom, did we lose you? There he is. Oh, Tom.
Hey, Tom, can you give us a call back? I think we lost you there, but we'd love to hear what you had to say.
888-787-5543, 888-787-5543. You know, he did that for a lot of us. I mean, he's exactly right. I am no smarter than I was ever going to be, but he taught so much about if this happens, do this. If this happens, do that. If this happens, do that. So you're no smarter, but it's like I said, I came down here every Saturday morning, and if I had a question about what was going on at work or this or that, I'd go, hey, what would you do if? And like I said, he'd always know, and he'd stop what he was doing to talk to you about whatever it took to be.
Yeah.
And then...
Well, when Ed would come in, Don, to do the commercials, so Ed, when I was at John Eagle Honda,
go ahead, tell people.
Ed would come in and we'd do the commercial, and then we'd talk for about an hour. And I finally realized that he was doing the show with me. He was practicing exactly what he was going to say the next day, because then when I would listen to the show the next day, it was the exact same topics.
What we talked about.
This is exactly what we talked about. So, and I'm pretty sure that he did that with all of the dealers that are on the show. But I got to see both sides of Ed. I got to see him as a where I was advertising with the show, and then on the other side doing the show with Ed. And just one of those guys you just never forget.
Well, and somebody said it earlier. Somebody thinks we just walk in and they flip the red button on, and 4 hours later you walk out, you're done.
Right.
And we don't work on it near as hard.
Right.
Is the hours that he put in, because he did he wrote, he recorded stuff. I mean, he's so much to get up at 2:00 in the morning.
I don't even know how he did it.
I don't either. But 888-787-5543. Talk about it with us. 888-787-5543. Or you can email us.
Yes, you can go to myautomotivesource.com. Once you get there, you can go to the bottom of that page and the first page, and you'll see the Contact Us button. Click on that, and that you can email Don or me. And if you want to go, we're going to have to take a break. So what we'll do is be back in a moment on 5.
And we're back here on 570 KLIF, Cruise Control with Don and John. And you know which one of us are which, so let's don't waste any time. We're doing our Ed Wallace Tribute today. 888-787-5543. There are only 2 lines open. Quick, my brother called, and my brother called.
Emailed.
He emailed John and said, don't forget to tell the story about how smart he was when he parked the brand new car. He came to our family reunion down at Galveston one year. Me and him, we drove down in a brand new Oldsmobile back when he was working as Oldsmobile fleet salesperson.
A demo.
Yep. And we parked it on the beach and went and did stuff, and the tide came in. John said he sunk it. I don't think it really got sunk, but it may have got a little wet. But also on the way back, we only had 2 warm beers left. And I learned my first thermodynamics lesson when he said, take that paper bag. Remember what paper bags are? He said, roll it up, put the beer inside, and hold it up against that air conditioning vent, because that air comes out at exactly 37 degrees. And in 8 minutes, that beer will be cold enough for you and me to split.
Was it true?
Did he say it?
Of course it was.
Did he say it?
Of course
anyway,
it was.
so, and then my sister-in-law, she sent me a text saying, man, you know what? I know how much he loved you and you loved him. And said a couple weeks ago, my nephew Ryan's been working at his house for forever.
Yeah.
Anyway, he said a guy in a dump truck broke down in front of the house, and Ed wrote the guy a check for $1,000 on the spot and didn't even know who he was or nothing.
Sounds like Ed.
Does. 888-787-5543, 888-787-5543. Let's see, that's line. Dave, you're on with Don and John. Hello.
Well, good morning, Don and John.
Good morning.
Notice he said my name first.
Yeah, that's right. That's because it's D and J.
Okay. I thought there was something bigger than that. Go ahead.
Thank you for your service for the last 2 and 3 years, respectively, hosting the show.
Yep.
So I've been a listener for 30 years, and as my wives and kids could tell you, they knew what Dave was doing every Saturday morning from 8 to 1. But I only got to meet Ed once. It was at a quick car grand opening in Mansfield way back in the day. I talked with him on the radio a couple of times to help him with a couple of things, but it's been over 20 years since I called.
Where have you been?
Well, I've been listening.
We appreciate that.
So my other direct link to Ed is I am the only other owner of Ed's Egg. And for those that don't know what Ed's Egg is, Don Jr. could tell you because that's where I purchased it. And Ed told the story on the radio many times that once he decided to sell his all-electric Mitsubishi, that very morning I called Don and I said, what's the Ed price on Ed's Egg? And Don Jr. gave me the price. I cut a check for it that afternoon, and I've owned it ever since.
Wow.
So that's a true piece of Ed Wallace.
That is a true piece, yes.
He believed that was the first all-electric vehicle registered in the state of Texas.
I would not doubt that.
Same here.
I wouldn't doubt that.
If he said that, that's because he researched it.
I didn't even know. And I said, how come I can't hear it running? He goes, it's because it's an electric car. It's stupid.
Indeed. So one other thing I reminded Ed of. So while I only called the show a handful of times, I emailed him all the time. And one day he asked, he said, I forget now what was on KLIF before I moved over to KLIF. And I reminded him, and I'll just give this hint. I'll say dittos to Tom in that Ed was and is one of my heroes.
Yep. All right, my man.
Appreciate it, guys.
Love you. Bye.
Thank you.
888-787-5554. There's one line open. Don't mess around. 888-787-5543. Yeah.
Dave was getting ready to cry.
Well,
yeah.
That's one of those things, I guess. Huh? Let's see, where am I going? I'm going to. He said, "Oh, I got to take."
Come on, there, Don.
No, Tom dropped, and he came back, and I couldn't remember what line. Tom, are you there?
I'm here.
There we go. Tim saved the day. Good job. Go ahead, buddy.
I don't know. I don't know what I was able to air, but anyway, I got so many stories about Ed. But let's just cut to one, because I know there's so many other people wanting to call in. So via Ed, I actually, in a roundabout way, got in to see Ray Ellis, who owned Quick Car.
Yep.
And do some business with him. And if y'all ever been over to his place, he's sitting in front of 4 huge computer monitors, just covering all of his empire there. And he was polite, but he really wasn't listening to what I had to peddle. And then I brought up RXP. And he immediately swung around in his chair. I told him that the RXP had worked so well on my 1985 Suzuki Samurai. I bought them when they first came out.
You're one of the ones that didn't turn over, huh?
Right. Oh, my goodness, don't give me that, because I also own a Zuzu Trooper.
There you go.
So anyway, I wish I could have done more about that. But anyway, and so I'm passing all these tests, and that's when he turns around and he goes, let me tell you something about RXP. I'm an excessive type guy. And he just does his hands all around the room and all that. And so when Ed told me to put in 1 bottle, I'm going to put in 2 bottles of my old diesel tractor. And it's the old tractor that had the exhaust right in front of it. He cranked it up, and they gave him instant blackface. So because of that, and I'm laughing so hard, we were able to do some business. But thank goodness that Ed came into my life because, like I said, I'm not a smart guy, but the knowledge I got from him made me sound smarter in front of all my friends.
There you go. We all did the same thing.
That is the absolute truth.
Thank you, too, for so much that you're doing. I'm going, because my bride wouldn't. Got another real quick one.
Okay, go ahead.
He talked me into leasing car. And so, thanks to Freeman Toyota, my wife gets a new car every 3 years. And if my wife ain't happy, nobody's happy.
Isn't that the truth, too?
Thank y'all again for so much you do. I'll get off the line and let other guys jabber on. Take care, my friends.
Adios.
Thank you.
That opens a line at 888-787-5543. Let's see here, John. Hang on. And we're back here on 570 KLIF doing our Ed Wallace Tribute. 2 hours of you calling in. We're sharing our stories, and we want you to share your stories, too. So right now, all 5 lines are full. So 888-787-5543. Write that down, 888-787-5543. And as we start releasing these people, get in there and let's talk about this. Some of these things I've forgotten about until the people bring it up. It's really kind of cool. Line 2, Harold, you're on. Hello.
Oh, hey, guys. In 1993, on a Sunday afternoon, I'm an AM radio guy, and radio station KGB, this guy, Ed Wallace.
KGBS.
Yeah. Like I joked with Ed, of all the radio station names in Dallas, Texas, the most conservative anti-communist city in the country, you're working for KGB?
Yep.
It's like, Hey, Ed, Boris and Natasha tell Moose and Squirrel, listen to KGB radio wheels, but not in Soviet Union.
That's right.
Just, Saturday mornings like that. And, please at this time, let's remember Mr. Bernard and Karen.
Yes.
How fortunate to have those two people on the show. So, and you, Don, I mean, gosh, guys, on Saturday morning, back in the, 20 years ago, heck, this is, so informative. So many things that Ed brought up, especially like in the Revolution and the prisoners of war that the British held in the harbors in New York. I never learned about that in school, not in college. So those are things that we miss so much, but, it's just neat for you guys to be on today and to think about Ed. And, you call in, there would be Karen. I'd tell Ed, well, Karen was my Miss Yvonne fantasy. Since I'm not Pee Wee Herman anymore with Miss Yvonne.
Hey, the honest truth, we used to accuse her because anytime somebody calls and falls off the computer, you see it happen. So you see them come on and then they disappear. And it was just people didn't want to talk to me or Ed. They wanted to talk to Karen.
Yeah. Hey. Karen was a customer of mine at John Eagle and her parents.
And her parents, yeah.
Yeah, and her parents.
Yeah, there's people wanting to talk, keep telling Karen, hey, happy Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Where'd that caller go? It wasn't for you. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what made it so fun on Saturday mornings. And it was just kind of something, those of us that are still AM radio guys, you help fulfill a Saturday morning. So thank you for having this morning, and thank you for continuing with the show. It really helps out on Saturday mornings. So.
You're the man.
Thank you, Harold.
Hey,
you take care.
Line 1, Monty. Hello.
Hey there. I'm calling from Tennessee. I used to live in Arlington, and I just always appreciated how Ed was always so positive when he talked about Mr. Tom Vandergriff, who was the for anyone who doesn't know, who was the former mayor of Arlington from, I believe, 1951 to 1977. And Ed really gave a lot of credit to Tom Vandergriff, and I just wanted to share that.
Well, I remember that. That was great. Don't you have a story about that? Was it Tom Vandergriff where it was Ed gave him the binder?
I don't remember that. No. That was Victor. Victor Vandergriff.
Victor Vandergriff. Yeah. Tell that story. That was like. Well,
there's a.
That's a.
At one point, Ed Wallace worked for Victor Vandergriff at Vandergriff Honda, and so Victor had come back. Victor was an attorney. He still is. He'd come back from this 20 group thing with the 1,200-page book of things to do to make the dealership be. Run correctly.
Better. Yeah.
So he hands it to Ed and he says, Ed, I want you to read this, absorb it, and come back and give me a report on it. So an hour later, Ed took it back, handed the book, said, I'm done. He said, well, what do you mean? He says, well, open it. So he opened it to page 1 to the first thing for suggestion. And there's a Post-it note that says, hire people who love people and have integrity. He said, what about the other pages? He said, just move the Post-it note.
That is true, Ed Wallace.
Yep. Just move the Post-it note. Monty, you still there?
I am. I just, like I say, Ed was always so positive.
Yep.
I think that's what we need more of in the world, and I'm going to miss that.
You
and
think
me
you're
both,
100%
brother.
correct. Yes.
Yeah. Hey, thank y'all. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Monty, from calling from Tennessee.
Let's see here. Lines. Kenneth, you're on with Don and John. Hello.
Hey, this is Kenneth.
Hello, Kenneth.
How you doing?
We're good, sir. What's your story?
I was just going to say I listen to Ed every Saturday. I didn't work very much, but I didn't have to much. But I was listening to him on the radio while I'm listening to y'all. So I got most of this stuff recorded on cassette tapes. You know how hard it is to find a cassette tape. I was
about to say you're dating yourself really hard when you talk about cassette tapes.
Yeah, I'm not a technology man, really.
Put you and me about the same time period.
But I'm going to miss him because I didn't know he'd passed away either. And last week when y'all was talking about it, I started listening to my tapes again.
There you go. It's called Ed Wallace Therapy.
One of a kind. Yep, we will be sorely missed.
Minutes now. America is primarily a nation.
But
Look at
I
that.
have the Santa Claus, all that stuff. All these people were saying about the Santa Claus, I got all that recorded.
You got it all recorded?
I have on cassette tapes, and I have the one where Ed was fixing to retire, and he was going to let y'all take over and everything when his days were gone. I got that one recorded too.
Oh man,
I have a lot of them recorded on cassette tape.
That's incredible.
I'll miss him. I just want to say I'll miss him.
All right, my friend. Thank you for calling in.
Thanks, Kenneth.
All right.
We're going to take a quick break. We'd like to welcome you back to our Ed Wallace Tribute call-in show. 888-787-5543. The lines are all full right this very second, but write that down so you can get in when we start releasing people. 888-787-5543. Or if you want, you can email your question to John or your statement.
Yep. Just go to myautomotivesource.com. Once you get there, go to the bottom of that page, the first page, and you'll see a Contact Us button. Click on that, and that'll take you to the email that you can email Don or me.
You know, I said Don or I a minute ago, and the grammar police caught me. So I'm sorry, it was John or me.
There you go. See, you're learning.
Clinton, you're on with Don and John. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for taking the call. My son, years ago, this around 2005, was in high school, and Ed heard that on one of the radio shows he did a speak at Texas A&M about ethanol, and he did the hard mail, made copies of his transcript and mailed it to my son, which he used parts of that speech in his essay on ethanol. And so I thought that was really nice of him to do that. We got a lot of data in that would have been very hard to find.
Oh, no question about it. That's a very thoughtful thing to do, right? I'm sure it went over really big with the teacher.
Well, true. And also from a business standpoint, in 2005, I almost purchased I had a delivery fleet of gas guzzling medium duty trucks. And I was listening to the Ed Wallace show, and he talked about the gasoline or the refineries or the oil was in contango. And that kept me from making a major business mistake because the price of oil collapsed like 60 days later. And I just wanted to mention that was helpful in my business things.
You know, when forever and ever and ever when we first started, I answered the phone because we couldn't afford anybody to do that. So that was when I answered the phone. I go, "You've 570 KLIF. You got a question for my genius?" That was when I answered the phone every day. Hey, whatever you want to know, he knows.
Well, this is true, and also my wife started listening to him when she was riding with me one day about the Christmas story in, I guess, Ranger.
Yep.
And from that point on, she enjoyed waiting for the topics that he would bring up that nobody else would. And now she's being educated by you guys on the auto industry.
I wouldn't tell her to hang her hat on that one. I think you were doing better talking about the Ed Wallace story.
Well, thank y'all for taking over and filling in his shoes.
All right, Clinton, have a good one, my friend.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
That opens the line at 888-787-5543, 888-787-5543. Tom in Dallas, you're on with Don and John. Hello.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, yeah, like the other callers, I really hated to hear of Ed's passing. He was part of my Saturdays, as he was many other listeners. And when he discontinued the show and obviously is passing, now I know we'll never hear Ed again. And my Saturdays were really never the same after Ed stopped the show. He was a force of nature, and I really believe Ed obviously was a smart guy, and there's a lot of smart people out there in the world. But Ed possessed something that a lot of people don't possess. Ed was a curious man.
Very.
And his curiosity was his power. That was what made him great, because his curiosity led to everything about Ed, right?
Yes.
But then Ed also possessed one more attribute, I felt, is that he enjoyed sharing his curiosity with others, and that was the gift that he left behind. And so I really enjoyed Ed's curiosity, and I'll add this onto it. When you think about Ed's curiosity, he could make the most mundane subject that most people would just gloss over in the newspaper or the business news or what have you, and make it very interesting, and none other than the oil report.
Yeah.
Who could take an oil report? And I look forward every Saturday to just the oil report, because Ed made it so interesting. And when the Venezuela event occurred here in the past few weeks, I just wonder, Ed would be all over it.
Oh my gosh!
Are you the stats, the data, the oil? Where does it go? What's the history of it? And so his curiosity was just great, and his oil report, as mundane as it was, he made it so interesting. I dearly miss Ed. Bless his family. God bless his family.
Yep.
And long live Ed Wallace's name.
Yes. Yes. Ed was a very curious. He always said he had a curious mind. He would go on one subject, and that would lead to another subject, which would lead to another subject, which is why he read so many books, because he really wanted
everything was another rabbit hole.
Yep. Yep.
And then he wanted to share it, and we were just blessed to have his hearing. One question, and then I'll depart. What's going to happen to the to all the backside of American history stories?
That is unknown for right now. Do not know. It's too early to tell.
Wow, they're fabulous.
They are fabulous.
They're all set aside on a Macintosh hard drive somewhere.
Well, and I have the written volume 1 and volume 2 in PDF form. If you send me an email, I'll send it to you.
Good. Hey, I really appreciate it, guys. Keep up the good work. Keep up the spirit of Ed, and stay curious, my friend.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
That opens the line at 888-787-5543, 888-787-5543. Let me see if I can do this without my glasses. Dan in Carrollton, you're on with Don and John. Hello.
Hello. Yes, sir. I grew up in the same hometown as Roy Orbison, so obviously I like classic tracks.
Yep.
But email back and forth with Ed about the rock and rollers. I also liked his interest in the JFK assassination and the Texas oil industry. Well, Ed said something in a program I disagreed with, so I told him he was wrong. You didn't do that with Ed. He emailed me.
Did you hear me tell you that you not to use trigger words? Never trigger words.
He called me a twit in the email in both of his argument, and I took that as a badge of honor to be called a twit by Ed Wallace. But we kept emailing. That didn't bother us.
I was talking to one of our dealers the other day, we were talking about, because he just knew everything, and this dealer goes, "No, I've got an email I've saved from 8 years ago where he actually said, you know what, you're right," and he saved that email where Ed Wallace said, "You're right."
That ought to be framed.
It's a prized possession, and he can buy anything he wants. All right, Danny.
I also
Yep, go ahead.
like the classic, the backside of American history. I had my family listen to that all the time.
Yep, we did too.
It's one of the best you'll ever hear done by anybody ever, as far as history goes. It should be taught in high schools and colleges.
Well, that's why it's called the backside.
Good work.
Yeah.
All right, my friend. 888-787-5543, 888-787-5543. There are a couple of lines. Well, now there's one line open. So we're going to go here to Brian from Lucas, Texas. You're on with Don and John. Hello.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
I just wanted to comment particularly on Ed's voice. That was the one. He was my happy place. Tuning into Ed Wallace every Saturday for 20-something years.
Yep.
And he had a particularly comforting voice, even if I wasn't really paying attention to what he was saying sometimes. He just had a great voice for radio, and he's irreplaceable. Even while I love you guys, I really miss Ed Wallace. And
we do too.
We do too.
We're all blessed to have had him in our lives some way. But may he rest in peace. That's all I wanted to say.
And peace to you, my friend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
888-787-5543. 888-787-5543. Let's see here. Where am I going here? A line.
Well, I'm glad to have gotten on here. I'm doing about the same problematic stuff here on my end, so I'm glad to be here. I wanted to ask about Ed's broadcasts. Will they eventually be put in a podcast or some DVD, some way that we could access them? Because, a lot of those were timeless. The history pieces, the music things, the older we get, maybe the music things will be less and less obvious. But most of them are just timeless, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to get access to them somehow, even paid. I'd buy some DVDs.
Well, so you're dating yourself again with DVD, but not as bad as the guy with the cassettes. But it's too early. All that stuff is saved, and he had told us before that we could use it, but he wanted us to learn how to do a show the way he would do a show first, which I said that means we'll never get him because we'll never do the show like
right on.
That was his way of saying no.
Yeah,
when you can jump this high, then you can have them. But they're saved. They're somewhere, but it's too soon to know. We don't know. But,
there was a time when Ed told us that you're not going to take callers anymore. You're going to do the show from 8 o'clock till 12 o'clock. And no classic tracks, no backside. You're going to actually do the show for 4 hours and do all 16 stories. And
that's the problem. There's 20.
There's 20.
We always thought there were 16.
But that was his training and so we don't know what'll happen with the backside and classic tracks. But you said they're timeless, and it's American history that I don't know anybody that could have done it better.
Right. Agreed so much. Okay, well, hey, keep us posted on the air.
We will do that for sure.
We'll stay tuned. Thank you,
sir.
Have a good day. Their best Ed Wallace memories. Would you not say that the number one thing we've been asked between this is where's backside? And where's classic tracks?
No question.
So it's too soon to know about that, but that's on our minds too. So
I love. Karen turned me to the wolf.
Well, you asked the wrong question. I remember one time I was sitting here, and a guy calls in and goes, "You know what I heard on the Sean Hannity show the other day?" Oh my gosh, you took the guy apart. In the middle of the break, I said, "You realize that Hannity's on this station, don't you?" I don't care. It's blah blah. So, he had his deal, and that's what it was.
Yep.
So, you got anything else?
Just want to thank Tim taking all the callers, and thank all the callers for calling in, and we'll see you next week on 570 KLIF.